What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Hope everybody's doing well this evening. Thank you all so much for joining us here as we are so excited, baby, as we pulled out that victory, baby, that upset, that GTHC, that UNC sucks, that whatever you want to call it, that light it red, that woo, man, we feeling it today. We are feeling it. We're so excited here to get rolling. So thank you all so much for tuning in here as we got a banger of a show today and a banger of a series coming up here. It's just a little bit of insight. We got actually way too many tweets of the week that we just cannot get to today. So what we're going to be doing this week is actually, so we're going to have our live show today. And instead of our normal episodes, because we obviously we've been usually doing previews, which obviously we can't do previews because as of right now, we're just waiting on the bowl games. So what we're going to be doing this week actually is we're actually going to be continuing on doing some more tweets of the week before these episodes coming up later here this week. So make sure to tune in for those. And to make sure you don't miss out on those, make sure, first off, you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're notified on all your devices whenever we release any of our episodes. Also, too, whenever we do any of our live streams, any of our watch parties, you name it. So, but with that being said, obviously, got Greg the Leg dressed from literally above the head to the toe. And obviously the Carolina Sucks shirt for those who are listening in here. So we got the whole crew together, Ken's, Michael, Greg, Macon, and myself. But make sure if you've tuned in with us before, you know the drill. But just as a reminder, if you haven't already, just send us that comment. Let us know how awesome it feels to beat UNC, baby. 2 years in a row, baby. And also, too, just let us know if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns that you want us to touch on, and we will get to as many of them as we can here today. So, Michael, Ken, want to kind of ask you both first, since Greg and I had the pleasure of being there in person. But what was it like watching it on TV? What was the thoughts? What was the feel? Give it to us.
Ken, you can go.
It felt great.
Felt great.
So simple, but yet so beautifully put.
I needed that smile so bad. Literally so bad.
Absolutely.
My entire family was here. So, I mean, call us dumb, but I really do think it was Chad. He was blowing that kick so hard up there. So, I mean,
we love it.
There's
Amen.
nothing better. I mean, beating them, especially in overtime at Chapel Hill, felt great.
Absolutely, Kens, and definitely, just like we tweeted out, luckily I got a picture of the red sky. I think it was around halftime or so, and I think all of us agreed that was definitely Chad letting us know that he is present. Don't worry, he is there, and he definitely, I'm sure, made an impact, no doubt about it. Michael, thoughts, brother?
Yeah, I mean, it was not how I expected us to win, but
No,
I'll take it.
No.
I didn't see Ben Finley outplaying Drake May, but
Ben Finley killed it.
Yeah,
absolutely. It was exciting. I was standing for probably the last overtimes, but probably the last 6 minutes of the game, just standing in front of the TV. I couldn't sit down. So yeah, I
hear you. And making so basically we're asking basically kind of thoughts for those who man, he jumped off. All right, anyway, so with that being said, so that way I can get off, because as you can see, we actually have a new setup, y'all. So that's why my eyes are up here. I actually have a desktop up here now along with my laptop. So trying to bump it up, make things a little bit easier. Waiting to talk about Greg and my experience being there in person was I thought that I would kind of show what the experience was for Greg and I in person. So
Derek is my favorite person, and I'm glad you got to experience how he is. I loved it. So
for those who are listening again, basically Greg had a few, to be honest with you, and somehow, some way.
That was all sober.
Nothing
in him.
Man, look at Greg. Because there's no other way. There's no other way that you, Greg, would have gotten your way onto the field, man, and gotten that NC State flag and waited like there was no tomorrow, man. That was the most epic. And for those who watched the video, I was screaming, going, "Hey, Greg! Look at Greg!" I was so screaming my lungs out, man. It was the greatest. Oh my God, it was epic, to say the least. I got to show it again. But Greg, give your background, man. Give the story.
Well, everyone knows, and I'm kind of wore this shirt for the whole part of the story, and The game was Friday. It was the day before the 1-year anniversary where I broke my leg, obviously at the Carolina game at Carter Finley last year. And at the end of the game, I just kind of wanted to work my way down and just give some high fives to the players. Normally the players walk by the state fan section and, give high fives and all of that. So I just wanted to tell them thank you and all of that. And a couple guys walked by, Durden and it was someone else and I can't remember, but Derek kind of just came by and I told him, I said, man, I've been to every game this year after I broke my leg. He goes, yo, I remember, man. I remember you.
I can see him saying that. That's the great part.
And he's like, and so I was just like, I was like, man, thank you for everything. He was like, no, man, you got to come down. You got to come down. I was like, okay, let's go. Like, I wasn't gonna say no at that point. And
Sure.
I didn't care. Darn security and all of that stuff. And and I don't know if I asked if I could wave it or he just handed it to me. I don't know. Like, it was such a blur. And I just grabbed it and just waved it, man. It was just the most surreal full circle moment for me.
I'm surprised Greg wasn't the one that planted it midfield.
Yeah, really.
Oh, man.
No, I was happy with where I was at, and
he stayed on the sideline.
Yeah, security came up and said, "If you don't get off the field, you're going to be arrested." And I was like, "Cool, give me a second." And then I just wanted to get my stuff, but I don't know, it was all blurred. I think they just chucked it back into the stands, and I think Leighton got it for me, and it was a blur. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was, I couldn't believe it happened. I mean, for real. So, but shout out to Derek, and he and I have had a few moments on Twitter the last couple of days, and coolest dude. And if anyone didn't see that tweet that I tweeted out, and Coach Doran talked about it in the press conference post game, he was playing with a bum wrist. He was playing nickel, who he hadn't played that position in 4 or 5 years. Our whole nickel depth chart was decimated by injury for this game. And, obviously last year he was the one that caught the interception at the end of the game to seal it. And so, I mean, you might call this the Ben Finley game. That's probably what people will remember it of. But, there's the unsung heroes of this team that, went out and got it done for us on Friday. And definitely Derek was one of those guys. So shout out to you, Derek, man. Appreciate you, and Wolfpack Nation loves you.
Absolutely. And want to give a shout out to some of these comments here before we continue on here. So WWE Guy 59 says, go pack, baby. Got Aaron Fireball here. Hunter Smith, one of our channel members. Hunter, appreciate you being a member, brother. Greg Roberts says, pack power. Rusty Oil says, this Greg thing, getting on the field, got to hear the details. Epic. Well, now you know, Russ. Now you know the details. Hunter Smith says, God bless you, Girl Kens, from Hunter Smith. And then Aaron also said, I'll say the announcers were so bad. So I do want to ask, I've heard that
they were terrible.
I've never muted a game in my life, but it was to the point where they were so far up Drake May's butt. Like, it just irritated me.
Not only that, they were calling our players the wrong names.
Right?
Like, really?
They got Michael Allen confused with Marcus Allen on Carolina's side.
And they called Devin Carter Desmond.
And then Coleman, they called him Coleman at one point in the game. I was like, what are you guys talking about? Like, it was bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then Wolfpack Zone says, what up, y'all? What's up, Wolfpack Zone? Appreciate you tuning in, my man. And then Scott First, I need to highlight that. Scott First said, couldn't get it to stick to the turf. Their field is fake as their AFAM paper classes. I love that. I love that. That's a classic. That's a classic comment right there, Scott. And Rusty says, can y'all talk about Doran's quote, which maybe Michael, Greg, one of you guys could help me by pulling that tweet, that quote up, so we could kind of direct quote that before we talk about that.
Here, I got it right here for you, Leighton. Okay. Which I'm sorry, guys, I had technical difficulties.
No worries, man.
The one time I have internet issues, it's probably the most exciting show of the year. So, but no, here's a quote. It was so it's in reference. I think he said it during the week when the ABC talk show or the ABC announcers are actually meeting with each coaching staff to get some info. And Doran, they say, supposedly, allegedly, Doran said this: they don't like us being UNC. They don't like us. We hate them. We are blue collar. They are elitists. Ooh. Their coaches
Salty Dave. Let's go.
Yeah. I love Salty Dave.
Their coaches talk down to us. They talk behind our backs, recruiting negatively against our coaching staff. And then they said when Pash, I guess was the last guy's name, asked if that quote was on the record, Doran reportedly replied, I don't give a expletive. So
I want to know which one he used because you can insert a lot of them.
well, that's what they were saying. It could be a lot of different words there, but I mean, it's probably more like, to me, what I've heard on some of these, different sites that like Pack Pride and Inside Pack Sports, they'll say that stuff has legit happened all the time. Yeah. It happens all across the country, but everybody knows Carolina Pete fans, they just think they're better than you. It just not all of them, but like a lot of them do.
99% of them.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and again, definitely great day Tar Heel. We did the preview with he's definitely one of the better ones for sure. And Mackenzie, another Mackenzie Blackwater. Sorry, not Mackenzie Blackwater. Mackenzie.
There can only be one.
My guy Mackenzie that we had on to talk in State versus UNC that Greg actually finally met in person on Friday. He's one of the good as well. But yes, there are not many of them. But the one which I do want to give a shout out to as well, and this kind of leads to another topic. Obviously, there was many different times from being there in person that we had injuries that UNC fans would boo. And
all of those were legit. I will go on the record and say all of those were legit. Because you could see, and I'm sorry to cut you off, because this really made me mad. Because on more than one occasion, I've seen it on Twitter, I've seen it on Facebook, in the stands on Friday. Those dudes that got injured were legitimately working through them on the sidelines. They were in and out of the game constantly. The Isaiah Moores,
that was one that got me. The Isaiah Moore one bothered me. I was like, he literally got injured like a few plays ago, and he's down again. He's not like he's faking it.
Right.
Well, we're going to take our best players off the field.
But
exactly. That Michael, that is the best point ever, because you're right. It wasn't the third depth guy on the line. You know what I mean?
Your main guy.
Yeah, good call. Good
call,
Michael.
Here's my thing. That kind of stuff happens a ton of places too. To me, that's more of a problem with sports, period. Like, you should not be booing somebody getting injured, period. I don't care if you're State or you're Carolina. Like, you don't be doing that. So
you give them the benefit of the doubt until it's really obvious. I mean, like, it only happened maybe like 4 or 5 times. And again, it was the same guys that were working through injuries the whole game. I mean, the whole game.
Yep.
If Van was one of them too. And like, you could tell he was working through stuff there. Yeah, that just made me mad. I'm sorry.
Hold on. Have we given everybody's take on the game so far?
No.
Did I miss that in the first?
Okay. Yeah, you missed it. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
No, I want to give mine because, man, okay, so I'm sitting in the living room of my parents' house. Leighton knows what that looks like. And the women in my family, my mother and my sister are Carolina fans, and me, my brother, and my dad are State fans. And
well, not only that, you guys each went to that school.
Yes, right. Well, which other school? So we were, I was, me and my brother were there, and he was talking the whole time. We're like, I don't think we have a shot. And I was like, I don't know, Amos. I don't really know. And we get in there, we are losing our mind. And there was so, like, I can't believe, I was one of these stats here that State had only like less than 60 yards rushing and still won the game, which means you truly won the game at the quarterback position. Like, you just outplayed the guy. And I just thought was that the most enjoyable? Maybe, I don't know. Was it more enjoyable than last year?
Yes.
So
because
it was.
I think that's one of the most
beat them.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the most enjoyable wins, particularly in this rivalry, that I can remember. I mean, I love every single one of them. This one was like. Yeah. Guys, this guy was on the scout team 2 weeks ago, and he beat your guy.
Your Heisman dude.
Guy.
Oh man,
outplayed him 100%.
I just thought there were so many plays that could have happened one way or the other. I mean, you could argue State had 4 fumbles and got 3 of them back. That was huge. Chris Dunn missed a kick, but he came back in overtime and made 2. Tanner Ingles interception. Peyton Wilson had a wide open pick, hit him in the chest and dropped it. And man, I don't know. I just thought the drop pass for Carolina in the end zone at the end of regulation, put 2 seconds back. That game was great. I know even if it was the other way and State lost that game, that was a great game. And I think ABC got their TV ratings worth, but man, the fact that Ben Finley came in and won that game with, Devin Carter's best game of his career of the year.
Who came back from injury that we didn't know about. He was going to be in this game,
right? I mean, he had 10 targets on
6
or 7 receptions, and then 130 some yards. and a touchdown. That fade there at the end to him
Them stiff arms he threw out
was like reminiscent of last year with the Messi. I mean, it was
Timmons stepping up.
I know in triple coverage. You could argue that was triple coverage.
Yeah,
that was a dime. And again, I got all those clips. I got all those clips.
I know we're getting ahead of ourselves.
My whole point was that was one of the most fun games I've ever taken in as a State fan. Like, especially with my family there. It was all together. My brother, and we were like freaking Amos. Literally, Layton jumped in my arms and was
he's
like,
he's a big dude. Like he's
and he always did my arm. He was like, yeah. So it was so great. I mean, so awesome.
Before we go on to the next thing, I have to share a funny story. So I bought my ticket Thanksgiving Day because I was trying to play the third ticket market price game, and I bought my ticket. And raise your hand if you ended up sitting right in front of me for that game.
Like literally the row in front of his seat. Like it was the weirdest thing that there's 50,000 seats, whatever in Keene Stadium, and literally me and my family sat right in front of him.
Coincidentally,
like coincidentally, it was the most oddest thing. We didn't plan it at all. Swear on it all. It was the craziest thing.
Wow. So did you find out like when you got to your seats, or did you?
Yeah.
I almost bought my ticket. Me and Amos almost bought tickets to that game. I thought about it, but man, the fact that y'all win is probably even sweeter. So
and the first thing which I want to say, and definitely again, we'll definitely get into. I know Wolfpack has only talked about the Tanner Ingle interception, which we'll definitely get into for sure. But the one thing which I do want to say is, that entire game, from the first snap, was really just content. I was really like, do I want to beat UNC with everything in my soul? Absolutely. But I literally multiple times leaned back to Greg and was like, I'm so proud of these players and these coaches right now. Like the whole time, even if we lost, because honestly, to me, once we went to overtime, I was like, I don't know if this really plays out better for us, the overtime.
Yeah, so, I honestly thought the further we went into overtime, I was like,
the worse it was
getting more and more.
I didn't want to get the 2 point. I did not want to get the 2 point conversion.
It's becoming more and more advantage UNC. The further this game goes along.
Exactly. So, but the one thing which I do want 100% shout out is all of the Dave Dorn doubters should be silenced for good, in my opinion. I'm dead serious.
For his record, we were tweeting that out. Can someone read those stats of his record so far through like the last few years? Someone had that, right?
Well, I did that. Yeah, I mean that was from 2018 to today. I mean, I can read that. I mean, I do have that. Give me.
I don't know if Layton's got a tweet later. You got a tweet later or something, Layton?
Nah, maybe, but let me say what's one thing while Greg pulled this up. Because really, to me, the biggest thing which I really want to highlight is, again, we literally for most of the game we're playing Derek Pitts at nickel, who Dave Dorn said is our fifth string nickel. Tanner Ingle was obviously playing through injuries. Isaiah Moore was constantly getting pulled off with a hamstring injury that he was obviously dealing with. Davin Van, even from the moment that they ran out of the tunnel, he was already standing over the trash can, literally trying not to puke. I mean, so obviously he was dealing with some kind of illness. Like, these guys played their butts off from the word go. Dave Dorn had these guys ready to play. He was obviously confident enough to even wear the daggone light red shirt. And again, the fact that this guy was so salty, cannot stand UNC just as much as us. Like,
he is the best. He gets NC State. He
embraces it.
He is,
to me, it just goes back to, like, yes, was Boston College Dorn's worst loss? Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, Dorn's worst loss of his career so far? Yes. But at the end of the day, what we have seen over these last 3 years, specifically since 2020, has been nothing short of phenomenal. How many big wins has Dorn had between Liberty, UNC last year, UNC this year, Clemson last year, Texas Tech this year? The list goes on. And how many different times do we have to swap quarterbacks? Which is,
and again, my argument. The fact that he had to go through 4 different starting quarterbacks in one season and won with them. I get people are saying Mike Elko maybe should be coach of the year 8-4, but they had the same record. Duke played a softer schedule, and Duke was healthier. They had their quarterback won the whole season. Yeah. So that's my argument against that. But go ahead.
My thing is not even just how they the games that they've won. Is the comebacks and overcoming the losses.
Mhm.
Like in
Different ways of winning.
2019 and lower, you would not have seen it. Would have been 0-2 for the last 2 games after losing to Boston College easily.
Yeah.
Like we would have expected it and we would have known it was going to happen. The fact that they came out and played like that, and I say
For each other.
That should be their senior day. I stand by that
It
statement.
was.
Oh yeah,
There was more red in the stands than blue, so
it was. No, again, it just like coming out of that game, I literally was just saying to myself, how could any State fan not love this? Like, how can any State fan not absolutely say Doran is the guy? Now, I mean, obviously, can we talk about Tim Beck and some of the other assistant coaches? Sure, but I'm saying in this situation, Dave Doran alone, that any argument that Dave Doran is not the guy, I don't see any argument that holds water. Simple as that.
He was crying at the end of the game, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, like, when's the last coach that got emotional at NC State coach? I mean,
and the guys got emotional with him, so you can tell that they love him.
Yeah, he's a player's coach just as much. You made a lot of great points there, Leighton. Yeah. I don't see how they can be another argument.
The culture is phenomenal. I mean, just like looking across the country, looking at, players leaving, even before the end of the season, looking at, issues, within the locker room. I mean, obviously even UNC right now, I mean, look at them. They're kind of scrambling going, holy crap. Like, we have to play Clemson next week. We just lost to Georgia Tech last week. And now we just lost to NC State this week. I mean, it's rough for them. So yeah, again, just to me, I just wanted to just put that in saying that I just don't understand any sort of argument that Doran is not the guy. Simple as that. Now, again, Tim Peck, we could have the different comment another time.
A different story.
So, different story another time.
But he had a good game against UNC guys.
He did.
I mean,
He did.
I get that the players have to be able to make those kind of plays, but man,
I just wish he had good games. As in
it needs to be consistent in different ways, and I get that. But you're right, Lane.
Yeah.
So the one thing I'll just throw out there for the Dave Doran haters, he doesn't have a lot of kids that transfer out of the program. I mean, like you'll have a couple, but it's just a handful. Like if you look at some of these other schools, you see mass exodus every year of players just leaving, right? Because for whatever reason, you don't have that at State. And so I just think that one, they're recruiting the right type of kid, that one fits the program, fits the style of play, and fits the culture. I think those are the 3 most important things you can get out of a recruit. So,
and because Dave Doran, the biggest thing people say is, well, he's 38-44 in the ACC. Well, his first 4 seasons, he had 3 wins or less in the ACC. So, but if you take those out,
garbage roster.
Yeah, garbage roster, just trying to figure out the program, just trying to move it in the right direction. But then 4 of his last 6 years, he's had winning records, and the 5th one of those years is this year, and he's 4-4. So, not a winning, not a losing. So basically he's only had 1 losing ACC record in the last 6 years.
And he holds the record for most ACC wins in a season. Now, granted, we played a more ACC heavy schedule that year, but he went out and won those games. So, you have
to still win those games. Right?
Exactly right.
Yep.
Exactly right.
Yep. And Chris Sauls asked a quick question. I want to spend maybe 60 seconds on, but talking about sitting out of bowl game, I mean, just too early to tell, not really sure. It's just kind of an up in the air situation when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think some guys, I think it depends on what guys want for their future, right? Do they want to get that 9th win? Mm-hmm. I think they've already done that. Maybe they want to get that win. Some guys just competitors, like I'm not sitting now, I'm going to compete. But guys you've already proven enough. I'm trying to think who that would even be on this roster. Besides, I don't want to say Drake Thomas because I feel like he could still make some more draft capital. I could say Peyton Wilson because he's been injured. I feel like there's no guy here like a Bradley Chubb. It's like, okay, you're a lottery pick. Just
right.
Yeah. Really, the only person that I could potentially see just doing that would be like a Peyton Wilson. Someone that's out of draft. I'm sorry, excuse me. Someone that's out of eligibility. I don't know. I think Peyton still has 1 more year. I think if he wanted it, but I'm
technically does. Yeah,
technically does. But
so does Drake.
Correct. And typically, if you're a top 3 round draft pick, that makes the most sense of not going to play. I see Tanner playing. maybe only 1 or 2 players that I see sitting out.
Yeah.
Well, that's not due to injury.
Exactly. Yeah. No. And especially too, the other thing, which I mean, now that the Duke's Mayo Bowl is on the table, if we play in Charlotte, since most of these guys are North Carolina boys, I mean, I'd fully see them wanting to play in front of their family and friends one more time. So,
this last little tidbit: if Devin was playing this year and he had a similar season like he did last year, wasn't hurt? Yeah, he would be a candidate. I think would sit out.
Yeah, sure.
But that's, I think, move on.
Yeah, no. But Rusty asked a question, which I do want to kind of touch on, is talking about the environment, inside Kenan Stadium. And Greg, I know that was your second time.
And ironically, the other time was overtime as well.
In 2018. In 18, mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, kind of my take on it real quick, Greg, and I'll kind of let you build on it. Is, I mean, obviously, yeah, there was a lot of state there for sure. It's I mean, it's okay. It's to me, it's like it's meh. It's middle of the road. It's not great. It's not bad. It's just meh.
It's fine. It's like whatever. It's
whatever.
Game. Yeah. Let me tell you the story. So I went out. This is to me the kind of like definition of what Carolina fans are about when it comes to football. I went out to eat last night. We went out to eat last night in High Point. And we're walking in, and I had on like a NC State hoodie.
There you go.
And and like my hat. And one guy goes up. He goes. He wasn't wearing any Carolina gear, but he kind of turned around to me. He was about to go get right. Well, he goes, you're wearing that gear really proud today, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, I am. Realized, okay, he's probably a UNC fan. And he goes, yeah, but we're not, that great this year. I personally don't. He goes, I don't think we're number 1 team in the country right now yet. I was like,
oh, he went basketball.
Wait, what? His mind was already literally on basketball.
They're playing for an ACC championship.
You realize we just played each other yesterday in football, right? And won. Like, he wasn't even talking about football. He's like, well, I don't even think we're number 1 team in the country, but maybe we'll be. And I was like,
bro,
yeah, you're right. I was just like, wow, I said, Liz, did you see that?
Like,
well,
we need that soundbite, bro.
Well, and my story too. Right after the game was, so during the game there was this guy in front of us that was just kind of heckling us, but more just mocking us, really more of anything. Yeah, just shooting the yap. And after the game, he turned around to us, and again, this was me, my wife, and my parents were there. And my dad, by the way, is and just kind of give a little bit background, was kind of the most hush guy. Like, he's not really one to get into it. He's just very chill, like, not really saying much of anything. Well, the UNC guy turns around and was like, well, we just had to give this one to you guys because y'all are gonna be sitting at home next week while we're playing for the championship, baby. And literally, multiple times, I just really bent down to him, was like, really, like being like, please tell me you're joking. Please tell me you're joking. And my father, who again doesn't get into anything whatsoever, says, we just whooped your butt, brother. Like, what are you talking about right now? And I was like, bro, my dad, dude, what the heck? And multiple different UNC fans were like, enjoy, sitting at home next week.
That's all they had. Real quick, my experience.
Go for it, Greg.
Very late arriving crowd, like super late arriving crowd.
Yeah.
And then when it was all said and done, the fancy end zone where the scoreboard is at, I mean, it was maybe half full. The corners had some empty. Now, I will say the students showed up for them. I was a little bit surprised in that regard, that they showed up. No, I mean, they were there pretty good. I would say 95% of the student section was full.
Layton's comparing it to our students. Like,
well, I was gonna say for ours would be just filled to the brim, like students like this.
Yeah.
No, I hear you.
And I know you weren't on last Monday because you were at the hockey game, but the thing, it was during holiday break. So for that many that showed up,
sure.
So that was, where I was giving them their little mini kudos. But here's the problem: you can't tell an empty seat at Kenan because the seats are blue. So you really didn't even know.
They did on purpose, though.
Yes, sir, they did. Yes, sir, they did.
Reduced seats doing it too.
Yeah. So
I thought it was funny how they turned the scoreboard off right after.
Real quick. I noticed. I was gonna get a picture. I was like,
there was a picture going around that somebody took. One of the media people said this is 15 minutes for kickoff, and it was like nobody, and the band was on the field and everything, and there was nobody in there. 10% full, something like that.
Yep. Now, the one thing which I do want to say is Wolfpack Zone goes out there saying Quavian Smith is better than Caleb Love.
Period.
That's
that.
That's easy. That's easy.
I like that.
This year, it's easy.
Yeah,
Come on, Wolfpack
this year
Zone.
that's easy.
Eyeball
hanging
test.
fruit.
Yeah.
That's
It's
low-hanging
an eyeball test. No,
I'm telling y'all, my dad is working hard as hell up there right now.
Well, Caleb Love
Hard.
though. Caleb Love had a lot of numbers this game against Alabama. I just watched that. It was a
That's
crazy.
because it's 4 overtimes.
It was 4 overtimes. Exactly.
Yeah.
New career line, 32 points. He
That's
had
a-
to still
that's
score
a whole nother
32, but
half.
it's like
Yeah, it's a whole other half. That's exactly right. It's another 20 minutes.
Now, I know that a lot of people in the comments are talking about Leary, and we'll definitely, maybe throw around some conversations about that in maybe next week's live stream. But obviously, we got way too much to get to today. We can't talk about that today because that's all speculation. But that being said, though, want to finally get to some highlights from that awesome game. First one here, which isn't really the biggest one, but the thing which I loved here
clutch.
Was Kenton Gibbs' quote of "Don't forget who brought you to the dance," and that's exactly why I wanted to show this, because then I still say, man, Thayer Thomas is a guy that we need to find a way to get him the ball. That guy, he adjusted so beautifully and so clutchly to what would lead up to be the Terrell Timmons touchdown. Like that guy
That's a big play.
is in the conversation for one of the best wide receivers in state history. I mean,
he did not have a big stat line either. He had probably one of the worst stat lines. He had 2 or 3 catches on 2 or 3 targets for 2 or 3 yards.
Yeah,
so that might have been literally all he did statistically is that one play, relatively speaking.
But could I just pause you for 1 second?
Yeah.
Look, he had 2 guys on him.
Right? I get it.
So no, my point is that frees up other guys. So sometimes your best weapon can make others better by getting all the attention.
It was clear that was UNC's game plan, right? Take away Thayer Thomas in the passing.
Yep. Exactly. So I just wanted to give a shout out to, because again, Thayer's been absolutely one of the biggest shockers for sure in terms. Obviously he came in as a walk-on and has never looked back.
One of the most beloved NC State players in probably going to be in history.
I loved him so much more after his "What Happened" video.
Yeah. What up?
Yeah.
Yes.
What happened?
Yes.
I look. He's not going to get the national attention. Obviously, but in state, legendary or state lore. I just wish we could find a way to honor that dude, right? Like he's not going to get his number, put up on Carter Finley's wall, and he's not going to probably get a patch. But man,
like the student section right underneath.
Yeah, for sure though. In recent time, I don't know if you can name another state player who has done more, and this is no disrespect, done more with less, right? Because he came in with no expectations. As a walk-on, more of a baseball player than a football player.
Yeah. I think Dave Doran, if I'm not mistaken, he went to go recruit somebody. I don't know if it was Drake,
correct,
or it was somebody else, and he just
Ricky
happened
Person,
to see he happened to see Thayer Thomas have a game. He's like, who is this kid?
Like Heritage, right? Is that where he went? Heritage.
Yes, Heritage High School.
Yeah.
But I remember that story. It was almost like I didn't even go to watch Thayer Thomas. I just happened to see him play. I was like, wow, who is this guy? So
yeah.
So I don't know.
Again,
I got to do something.
And he's a guy to me, he's up there in the record books of NC State galore. That's why to me, it's crazy that he really is up there, in terms of the conversation of if you were to put together like an all-time NC State team, like he's up there in the conversation. At least I'm not saying he is there. I'm just saying he's definitely somebody worth mentioning. That's all I'm saying.
He'll be a pro.
So it's crazy.
He's just one of those guys that just got better every year, right? Like he just like he didn't rest on his laurels. He just kept grinding,
right.
And I think
I think
he was been referred to as a grinder in some of the things that I've seen or heard or whatever.
Absolutely. So now moving on to the next clip, got to give a shout out to the Terrell Timmons touchdown, which was a thing of beauty by Ben Finley. Triple coverage, yes. Triple coverage. You can
argue that it was.
He had 3 guys running right behind him, so I would definitely put that in the triple coverage.
He ran so fast.
and he's
he ran so fast he blew the guy's hamstring out.
That safety there, if you look back, all he needed to do is that safety to bite just a little bit.
Yep.
And but man, the fact that that Simmons has emerged like that, we've been trying to find that deep threat the first half of the season, right? Like that's huge. Just to even have one guy that comes in on a few snaps and be able to make a play like that and count on a guy be able to consistently make those kind of catches. That was the argument last year, right? State didn't really have a guy who could really take the top off this the defense, right? That's huge that we had Timmons like that, and I mean, true freshman too, guys.
Did anyone catch Finley's post game press conference? Anybody listen to that?
Him.
Which part?
Just him getting his degree.
Well, not only that, but he was talking about 5 weeks ago. It was him and Timmons that were blowing up the state defense, right? Running scout. Yeah. Like he had the most.
It's like, would you have thought that? Not me. It's like
right.
Paul Rudd, where he does that. You've seen that?
Yeah. But I mean, he said like, in this game, this was only like the second or third time he's thrown a pass to Thayer. This was the first time he'd thrown a pass to Devin Carter.
Crazy.
He said, really, like he and Timmons had the best rapport.
And I want to highlight that too, that literally a few weeks ago, Ben Finley and Terrell Timmons weren't even on the offensive side of the practice field. They were literally on the defensive side running plays for the scout team. So they weren't even like looking at reps. They weren't even having reps. They weren't even a part of reps. And they came out and beat UNC in their own house with Drake May at quarterback. I'm just saying that's absolutely spectacular, to say the least. And again,
Ben Finley is a national treasure, and I stand by that statement.
Ben Finley is the best fourth-string quarterback in the country.
Ever.
I think
that's I don't know if you have a tweet. I don't know if you have a tweet about this, but does anybody see the tweet? I think Rob McClam had going around with a picture of Ryan Finley when he won at state, and if you look in the background, there's Ben Finley sitting in the stands.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Yeah, that's just really cool for a full circle kind of thing for the family.
Yeah. The Finley brothers 3-0 and Carter Finley West.
3-0.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So now next one to give a shout out to, talking about Ben Finley a little bit more. So to me, this was one of Ben Finley's biggest throws, in my opinion. Late in the half, basically you're trying to get into a field goal range, trying to be a little bit aggressive, see if you can make a touchdown happen, but at least get in a field goal range to make it a 7-point game. And to me, the reason why I really highlight this is because, first of all, I mean, it's a corner post, so definitely a tough throw, a big throw, because I mean, if this play wasn't made, it would have been, a 47-yard field goal, but now it's basically a 29-30-yard field goal, so much more doable for Chris Dunn.
It's a 47-yarder. Is that what you said?
It was here, and then when he caught it, he made it basically a 29-30-yarder, so a whole lot easier for Chris Dunn.
And it gave him one shot to the end zone too.
Correct. That's a good point.
Another redshirt freshman guys receiving there, tight end. Another future spot right there.
Yep. Cedric Seaborough, right?
Yep. Right.
Cedric Fred.
Yep. So again, just got to give a shout out to Ben Finley there. What an amazing throw and a clutch throw, to say the least.
I'm gonna say that so many of the throws he made were like big time throws. Like they weren't.
Yeah. He
wasn't chucking it, 60 yards downfield, but that second play of the game to Devin Carter was like a nice 30-yard pass. That was I think the DB slipped or whatever it was.
Fell.
But
congrats.
But I mean,
he didn't fall.
He got worked.
Broke his ankle.
He got worked. Yeah. No, he definitely got worked. I was being very sarcastic when I said it, because that was everyone saying he fell. No, he got worked.
Devin Carter almost.
Devin Carter posted it. He made sure, because everybody was talking about that. He made sure to add that in his Instagram post. Him like dogging Storm Duck going down the field.
Now, before I jump onto the next clip, I want to highlight a couple of comments here. So Beck Wolfpack A13 says, talking about Thayer Thomas, he won't get the national attention he deserves, but he's a hometown guy playing for his hometown team and has given a ton for our program. Absolutely. There's no doubt that guy's an NC State treasure for sure. And then Wolfpack Zone says, whoever takes a chance on him, meaning Thayer Thomas in the NFL, is not going to regret it. Kid's a stud. I mean, again, he's a guy I think is like a Jacoby Myers equivalent for sure. That I mean, that somebody would love to have Mr. Consistency. Just works. So, and he's tough. The guy's tough.
And last thing, he's just always practicing his craft. I mean, he just, whatever it takes, right? Because he's one of those guys that he could go out and be a wide receiver. He could be a special teams ace. He could be like a Steve Tasker. Like, he just goes out and plays for 10, 15 years on special teams and just does his thing and makes his money. Like, I honestly could see him doing that.
I agree. And then lastly, Scott First says, give Thayer his own personal office in the football center for life. I mean, hey, it's a conversation piece. Why not?
Actually, there should just be a Thomas office, right? For Drake,
I agree.
Thayer, and for Lex.
Yeah, I mean, Lex hasn't done much yet, but hasn't done anything yet. But I mean,
Hey,
I mean,
if he's
looking at
half
his
as good as
brothers,
both of those, if he's half as good, he's gonna be good.
Right.
Exactly. So now moving on to a clip that I know everybody is wanting to talk about, including obviously Wolfpack Zone, the INT, the absolute huge INT. So the first thing which I do want to say is this play couldn't have happened better because of two different guys that were absolutely the definition of grinding through this game. The first one being Davin Van, who was the one that actually blocked the pass, and then Tanner Engel, who came through with this just insane one-handed catch that
don't cheat Drake though, because he started the pressure.
Exactly.
I agree.
But I get where your point was going though. But yeah,
just because those were two guys that were grinding. But I mean, of course, were there other players involved, including Drake Thomas? Absolutely.
The real
But
Drake.
he forced Drake May. He forced Drake May to throw that ball off balance. You're right. So that play there was forced hard by Drake. Obviously Davin M makes that more difficult throw to make. But look, he throws it off his left foot
and
jumping.
And I will say that if Davin Van doesn't get a hand on it, that's probably pass interference.
Yeah,
because he's all over, Engel's all over him. But since the ball's tipped, it's not pass interference.
That to me is the epitome of what Tanner Engel has been for this defense this whole time here. That's pure effort, and that's one thing people do not doubt with Tanner Engel is his heart and how hard he plays, his effort there. That's to me his greatest play in NC State jersey.
It was the biggest for sure.
Yeah, but I can't think of one that was more. That's more memorable than that, right? There's not more memorable.
But for him, that definitely was too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, especially that's essentially ends his regular season college career, right? Exactly. So he still has his bowl game. But let's just talk about the magnitude of this play, right? Because at this point in the game, the momentum has completely shifted to North Carolina's side, right? Because before this, they get their touchdown. We get a first down, but then we stall on our drive. We punt it right back to them. 5 minutes left in the game. This could be a potential go-ahead score on this drive.
Yeah.
And then we just flipped it, and then we go ahead and put the touchdown in. Obviously, it didn't win the game, but it helped us to – it gave us a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, it just goes to that, big players make big plays in big games. And, I mean, that was exactly what that was. Go ahead, Megan.
Was the very next play the pass?
Not the very next one. No.
It was third down. We ran three. You talking about when we got our touchdown?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we had 3 plays. I think it was 3 plays, and then we were in the end zone.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, the one thing which I will say too about the Kenan Stadium, which this was an annoyance for me, was that we were actually so low that we actually legitimately could not sit, because if we sat, we wouldn't be able to see the field because the players were blocking it on the bench. So we literally had to stand up just because of the fact that if we didn't, we wouldn't have been able to see the games. That was one thing which I do love about Carter Finley, is that since the lowest seat is on a ledge, that I mean, every seat's a great seat within Carter Finley, but you cannot say the same about Kenan Stadium for sure.
But it's easier to get over the wall at Kenan. Right, Greg?
I love it.
I took the 3 stairs because the security guard abandoned his post. So
hey, just saying.
But you're right. I could have Humpty Dumpty that
over.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Hunter Smith also points out that there's a ton of NFL potential on this team. And that's absolutely true for sure. There's tons all over this field.
I think you may look back in hindsight and seeing where these guys go with their careers and think, was that one of the greatest, if not the greatest, defense State's ever had? I think it could be on par. And I think the only thing holding that back in people's minds is going to be the win-loss record, right? Because you've had injuries. But if you don't have that injury against you could argue Syracuse, you could argue Louisville, Boston College was a bat, but you were rolling with MJ, so I'm not going to give that one.
Yeah, but he was injured in that second half. He wasn't the same player from the first half to the second half.
Yeah, I'm not going to say State would have won those games either, but I would feel much better about Syracuse, much better about Louisville, much better about Boston College. I really think this team is going to be should be in that conversation. It's just the greatest defense we've ever had. I think it might be one of the most beloved defenses because every player, every position, you could just you got to know them so much better. Maybe that's what social media helps you with too. But
you love them on the field.
I think this is going to be one of the greatest defenses we've ever had, personally.
Yep. And I wanted to go ahead and just bring this up since we were talking about it already. But at David Hill Joint put out a tweet saying NC State's D absolutely lived up to expectations this year too. Only teams in the country to not allow more than 30 points in the game this season. NC State and pending yesterday, Georgia and Michigan. In the playoff era, the only ACC teams to do it in all 12 games of the regular season were 2015 FSU, 2019 Clemson, 2021 Clemson. That's it. So I mean, it's crazy, and because think about it too, we weren't facing any Joe Schmo offenses either. I mean, again, ECU, they put up 49 against Temple. Obviously they weren't too half bad offense. Texas Tech put up over 50 on Oklahoma yesterday. UNC, obviously, what other?
Yeah. Wake
Forest. We faced some.
They make the defense, so hamstrung because the way they call the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing which I do want to bring up, Rusty asked a question about Dunn. Should he get his name in the Ring of Honor? So the one thing which I do want to say, is obviously, I was definitely shocked when he missed the kick just because I'm like, he's Mr. Automatic. Like, I'm not even going to.
Still came back in overtime and made the clutch kick to win it. To win, right?
And the other guy that hadn't missed had only kicked 16, where he kicked like 25, 26 field goals. So almost 1.5.
The attempts were so much greater.
Yeah. I think if Dunn gets, the Groza, I think 1,000% he gets put in there. But that's just kind of the way State does it for whatever reason.
If he gets the Groza, it's over with, because Bradley Chubb didn't, Rogers was a top 5 pick.
No, but he got an award though.
He got an award, right? So the Nordusky,
something like that, yeah. And then Bradbury, the same thing. He got an award. The Remington, I think it was.
Remington Trophy.
Yeah. So
and they were both All-Americans, which he probably will be too if he wins the award.
Yeah. So it really the outlier is Wilson, because he never really. I don't think he got anything like to that level. I don't think he got a national. I don't think he didn't get a national.
No, he didn't.
So I don't know, but hey, if you ask me, yeah, he should. I mean, he's the all-time ACC leading scorer. So
with a perfect record kicking in one season, but I bet he's much happier for the win than he is his record.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and he made the kicks that matter
like
too.
You said, he came back. Yeah, because guess what?
Yeah.
They didn't.
Exactly.
He was the difference. I mean, he was the difference.
We'll get there.
Yeah, for sure.
And Scott Furr brings up to the question about best defense, saying the 2004 defense. Yeah. But again, that's definitely.
I'm saying that's the conversation.
About that.
I think there is a debate and an argument to be made. This is the best defense we've ever had. I think it's in the conversation at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing you can say too is, like, 2004 football was much more different than it is today, right? With the RPO and all of that. So the emphasis on the game has changed even in the last 10, 15 years.
I agree. But I do agree with Wolfpack Zone that if he gets in the Ring of Honor, that his picture should be his groin shot from the 2020 Miami game for sure.
Well, yeah, but Greg's got a good point there. Greg Roberts has a good point. Mark Primani won it and is not in the Ring of Honor thing there.
Okay.
So that's a good point. There's precedent there.
He's also not the ACC's leading scorer.
True.
Yeah, there's more accolades to be had with Chris Dunn.
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. So now moving on to the next one, which was a couple of plays later. The awesome, ridiculous, the plays that we honestly expected all season long from Devin Carter. And he finally came through.
Man.
And man, I mean, what a throw. What a catch. I mean, look at all those sad UNC faces. I mean,
look at me. The way he celebrated is what I love. He got up like, it's all business, man. It's what I do. That's what I love about it. It was like,
he does not
freak out. He was like, I'm a grown man over this little boy right here.
Right.
Yep. But I just love too that right before the game, all of a sudden Tony Grimes was out of the game. I'm like, of course he didn't want Devin Carter.
He didn't want in that shape.
Well, look at the route. Devin Carter has to move here. Watch this play, and he does a double move, and the guy bites on it just a little bit, enough to make that play.
The best part though was when Finley. I don't know if the video will go all the way through this, but watch Finley here. Let's see. No, I guess it wouldn't show it. Maybe it was the other play. Maybe it was the first touchdown, but
that throw.
Finley was just
perfect.
He was jacked up on the one to Timmons.
That was with the Timmons one. Okay, yeah. Okay.
I know what you're talking about exactly.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was this one or the other one.
He celebrates just like his brother, because Ryan was the most awkward celebration.
Yeah, it's so awkward.
I like the finger roll celebration though,
because to me it comes up like he's just a normal kid.
He's genuine.
Exactly. I don't know.
Yeah, he's not putting on a show. He's not.
Right.
He's just doing his thing.
It's just
he's having fun. He's having fun with it.
As they should.
All right, now finally for the last
Can I
clip.
stop real quick? This is really fun.
Yeah, we should do this more often.
This is so great. I wish I could relive that game over and over again.
We should make this a yearly tradition every single
fun.
year on November 26th.
Black
7th.
Friday.
I love watching UNC lose over and over.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely can
Please.
see myself watching this in the dog days of summer, probably at least 2 or 3 more times.
But I'm just guys like there was no expectation going into this game.
Yeah.
No.
And it was like we are balling right now. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I honestly, we talked, look, I know Ken's will tell you what her prediction was, but Michael and Macon and myself, I don't know what crow tastes like, but if it was a thing, I would eat it. Like with extra sauce, probably.
I predicted us to lose the game.
I did too.
Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah.
Look. If you told me that because we talked about it, if we hold Carolina to 24 points, I didn't know we could score 21. Because the 2 previous games had showed that we probably couldn't, right? But we also knew that Carolina's defense was overrated.
Well,
actually, it wasn't even rated. I mean, they were rated next to last.
They're straight up bad.
Yeah. But even with all that being said, we had so many questions, right? And so I just wasn't sure. Did I think we could win? Absolutely. We just didn't know how we were going to show up for this thing. So
it was Chad. I don't understand why nobody.
Look. I'm telling you,
we had no opportunity to win.
I got some chicken wings left. I'll call it crow, but that's about as close as I'll get to it. So,
and actually, everybody in the comments right now is saying the game's on AC Network as we speak.
Of
so
course it is.
So what a perfect way to go.
They couldn't find a Carolina semifinals from last year to put on there.
Yeah, right.
Field hockey. You're gonna play field hockey.
Yeah, field hockey championship.
Let's get excited about that.
So again, finally, the last clip, the clip that ripped all of UNC fans' hearts out of their soul, and the one
state fans in the crowd behind the goalpost.
Well, and that's the thing. So if
look
you
watch, look at the red.
That's what I'm saying. Look at the 3 people in red.
Except for the guy in the red coat on the on the floor.
Watch play through and watch the dude in the upper level. He just loses his mind. Watch.
and even better. All right, so the UNC fan in the white polo to the left side of the left post.
Hey, which one? They're all wearing white polos.
So where the left post is, there's the guy
look at the red coat
the white
guy,
polo.
red coat guy.
Yeah, I got you.
No,
near
I said white polo.
I'm saying near there.
Yeah. So watch right near there. He loses
picks
it.
up his
Watch.
Oh my God.
What about the state fan?
Let's do that one more time.
That looks like an angry.
He looks pissed off.
I gotta go away from my mic. I was so loud.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Both of them. There was 2 of them right there.
Did you see that? No, they show a replay of it. Did you notice Dave didn't watch that kick at all?
No, he didn't.
He didn't.
He just looked. I mean,
watch. He's looking down the whole time.
You don't see it the whole way, but they literally show the beginning and end of the kick. He literally is like this the whole time.
I thought we blocked it, but no, he just shanked it.
And that's the same hash that Chris missed on earlier, right?
Yeah, the right.
So I wonder if something with that side, and maybe I don't know, but
he's not even on the hash. He's not even on the hash.
Look, there is a picture on Twitter. You can find it. There's a picture where the kicker, the holder, has that ball leaning a little bit inside. It's not. I don't know if that's technique. But if you go in the still shot, it's not perfectly straight. It is leaning in a little bit.
Yeah, it did look like it was leaning towards the holder a little bit.
Well,
I don't know the way it's supposed to be, but
because I literally remember when I watched this kick, I literally watched it and I saw the ball before I saw the post, meaning that to me it looked like it went left. But of course, I waited. I looked at the ref. I was like, it went left, right? And then they went. I was like, yes, finally, because sometimes that deceives me a little bit. But
it was weird, right? Normally the ball goes over top of itself. It went sideways,
side to side. He just
exactly.
Man, that game was crazy,
phenomenal.
There were so many things. I know I talked about in my little opening spiel, but just. Everything about that game made it
right now.
that I know, man. I honestly I enjoyed it so much. Probably because I was watching my brother, my dad too. But it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, it was definitely one of the greatest games I've been to ever. Period.
And it was one of those weird ones too that we were in control of that game. It was 14-3, And
the first drive is like the microcosm of the game.
Yeah.
Give or take. Yeah, for sure. So 100% agree with you on that. But with that being said, want to make sure Rusty did bring up an interesting point saying that we began the year and ended the year on the road at an in-state rival with a W due to a missed field goal. So, hey, finally these things swing our way. We love it. We're not gonna.
I'm not gonna be ashamed. I'm not gonna be apologetic on it.
Exactly. So with that being said, we're going to finally start to get into some tweets of the week. But once again, we will have some leftover, which we will do in our episodes coming up later this week. So make sure to not miss out on that. But with that being said, let's start jumping into some of them. Here we go. Beautiful. So the first one, got to give a shout out to our man, our love, our guy. Cheers to you, Chad Blackwelder. Again, that was for you, Chad. What an amazing win. What a guy. Obviously, his impact was there, and our hearts and thoughts were with him the entire time. And we thank you, Chad, for doing your part and giving us this amazing win for all of us here at Wolfpack Nation, man. What a win.
And we expect more, Chad. So you keep doing your thing up there, man.
Yeah, you keep doing your thing, brother. Your job's not done yet. We need more. We got basketball season coming up. We need a lot more, man.
Cool.
We need you to shake the field goal a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it takes, man.
Hey, and if you see Dean Smith up there, just keep walking.
Absolutely. But we love you, Kens, and we love you guys. I
want to say, God, I love Wolfpack Nation. I really do. You guys have made this hell of a week so much better for my family and I. The amount of love, support we have, I don't think I've gone a single day without a message from somebody on Twitter, a call from somebody. I know that a lot of you haven't met me or met my dad, but we could really feel the love, and we really appreciate it. You've helped us get through this, and I can't thank you guys enough because it's been really hard.
Yeah.
We got you, girl. We got you.
We got you. Absolutely. No, it's been absolute blessing for sure. And again, we're glad to have you here. We're glad to have you here celebrating, this awesome achievement here. So again, just like D Roof 75 says, you rock, Kens. You're the best. So we're hit with you here 100%. So with that being said, moving on to our next tweet of the week from Reddit College Football saying UNC versus NC State is an underrated rivalry between the school the NCAA loves the most and hates the most.
That was awesome.
True.
And that is like, just print it and make like 1 million copies and just throw them on planet Earth.
That should be
I feel like we need like some soft jazz music in the background when we talk about these tweets. Like, this is awesome. Yep, that's great. This is great.
Yeah, I don't know who runs that. I don't know who runs that account, but you ain't wrong.
You could not be anymore. You could not be.
There are
right.
so many pictures from like that game that I just wish we could just put them all on a shirt.
Oh,
honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. Yeah, no, I'll bring up one of those right now, which was my favorite.
That's
awesome.
Lives forever. I mean, dude. Well, because the thing I love the most about this too is that this is the guy that's waving the flag, Cyrus Fagan, is a guy that didn't even originally come to state. He is a guy that originally went to Florida State, transferred in, and I mean, like, looking at his reactions during the game, looking at his excitement, his hype.
It was like he was the biggest State fan ever.
Exactly.
Like, despised them.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it made me so happy to see that. I love it when our players hate them just as much as we do.
I'm telling you, he understood the assignment, man. Like,
He really did.
And the funny thing is, we were like the first team to do this weekend, and like 4 other teams did it on their rivals.
And this didn't get any attention in national media, right?
No, I know. All the other ones did. I'm like, no, we started this weekend.
Or not Georgia. It was Michigan.
Michigan did it. South Carolina did it at Clemson. That's right. And then there was one other school, because there was like 4 or 5 that ended up doing it. But anyway, we started it on Friday. Let the record show.
Which I do gotta give a shout out to my wife, because again, for all those know, she went to South Carolina, and I know she's watching this right now, and I know she was thrilled to be sad, just like we were, about beating Clemson for the first time.
Side note,
so.
that's a bad loss for Clemson.
That was
on senior day to your rival and lose a home
streak.
winning streak. That to your rival, that's bad.
And they still had a chance at I know Michael said he didn't think they did, but I mean LSU lost yesterday. It's conceivable TCU loses. They still had a chance to get in the national playoff. Like they 100% did.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know Michael will disagree.
Bad loss.
I know Michael will disagree.
Well, no, I mean they had a chance. It was very small.
Don't get me wrong, they didn't deserve it, but I'm just telling you they had a chance. So I mean, how bad has DJU been except for against us?
Right, of course it is against us.
Yeah, of course.
But again,
some guy asked Dabo Swinney at the end of the game, like, so is DJU going to be the quarterback for the game? And Dabo was, mad. He was like, "Why are you saying that? Are you trying to say DJU lost the game?" And I went in the report to go, "Yup."
He was terrible. He was awful.
No, granted, they had some their special teams was not special.
Teams was bad.
Sure, and again, I mean, Spencer Rattler definitely has all of a sudden come out of his cocoon the last two games. Which
where was that guy?
Where's that game? The other 10 games, but whatever. But do got to give a shout out to this quote of Wolfpack Zone saying, "People who can't play football at state play football at Carolina." I love that. That should be on a t-shirt.
That should be a t-shirt. Yeah,
that should be a t-shirt.
Ben Finley's post-conference comment.
We'll get there. Yeah, don't worry.
No, yeah, it's in the Rolodex.
It's amazingness for sure. So and then Chris Sauls asked, why did Dede look at the ground during the last field goal attempt? Because it was a big field goal attempt, man.
He's
nervous.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know. You do what you do.
I don't know. Maybe that's the way he prays. Maybe he prays down instead of praying up. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? On to them. So, and by the way, too, you could be an LSU fan right now, losing at 4-7, Texas A&M. Ouch.
That's what. That was the other one, Michael, because you were talking about LSU.
That was rough.
They blew it.
Yeah, they blew it big time. All right, so now moving back, this one from Jack R_NC said, "I'd pull for North Korea before I pulled for UNC. I'd pull for North Korea to win the World Cup if it simply meant we could win today." I love that. I think that's just hilarious.
That man truly loves NC State, man.
So you guys are too young to remember this, but back in like the 70s or 80s, it was like Carolina played the Russians in like an exhibition game. Yeah. And there was bumper stickers that said "Commies before Carolina." Yeah,
so,
like I mean, it was a thing. So I mean, this is kind of a riff on that.
So on one of the forums, I won't say which one, but if someone remembers this story, I might give myself my username away. I have a cousin who told me he's a State fan. His wife is a UNC fan, and he had to go see UNC play basketball in the early 80s against Yugoslavia. Mm-hmm. During the Yugoslavia national anthem, he stood up for their national anthem.
Love it.
He's the only one in the arena that stood up for them. But I was like, something like that. I'd pull for North Korea or Yugoslavia, something like that, before I pull for Carolina.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So love that for sure.
That was amazing. I love that.
I mean, I've always said there are few things I would cheer for before I would cheer for UNC over. There are a few things. I honestly have to think about it because I honestly couldn't name one for sure right now. So, but with that being said, moving on to our next one. This one is from Wolfpack Stats / NC State Pack 18, and basically to kind of give those for those listening in. So the Wolfpack Stats tweet is basically pictures of 8 different UNC defensive linemen, 2 of which are 5-star recruits. 6 were 4-star recruits. They have played 75 games total combined between them and have had 3 total sacks between all 8 of them this year alone. And then the funniest part is NC State Pack 18 on top quote tweeting it, saying, "If you are a recruit and want to reach nowhere near your potential while thinking you're crap, don't stink, go to Carolina." And again, basically making the point, it's like, I don't understand.
It happens
like literally
every year.
Every single year. It's happened since even before before Fedora. What was the guy?
Butch Davis.
Butch Davis. Even Butch Davis was doing that. He was bringing in 5 stars and was doing nothing with them. Like, it makes no sense. Like, what in God's green earth is Butch Davis and these guys showing these recruits besides a Texas national championship trophy?
No. Hey. Before you go there, don't forget Their D coordinator is a national champion too.
At Auburn.
Yeah, but he's got a national championship.
I will say
Yeah.
it is. I would say that it is cool that UNC, interestingly, has 2 former national championship coaches on their roster. But here's the thing. Like you said, Lane, they were doing it at Butch Davis time. They were doing it like Fedora time. I don't think Gene Chizik was a DC the entire time Fedora was there. Maybe he was, but like it happens every year, and it's because Carolina basketball is so entrenched in the state of North Carolina and the country that it is just like, oh, I grew up a Carolina fan because Michael Jordan. I want to go to Carolina because Michael Jordan. And it's like
there's a reason they hold their football recruiting best day when they play against Duke.
Right. I mean, like you can almost bank on a player for the most part going to Carolina and be a high-level recruit and be like, well, he's not going to go anywhere with his career. I mean, and it's almost always happens. Now, this year, we'll say Josh Downs has been the real deal. It was, I think, going last year too, but he had a bad game against State. And then you've got, there's some guys here. I thought
we didn't even talk about that late. Not even making.
But you got Tony Grimes, the easy guy. Tony Grimes are not even like he went out. He's not having a great career at State. I mean, at Carolina, Jabari Ritzy's not had such a great career yet at Carolina. I mean, there's some other guys I can think of. The only guys I can think of are legit good on Carolina's roster right now are Storm Duck, who I thought he got embarrassed by Devin Carter, and Ja'Coris Conley, I think the guy's last name is. I can't remember his name.
Drake May.
The guy's name. Drake May is good, but I just think a lot of the guys go there and they, unless it's playing time, I don't get it, to be honest with you.
Money, but yeah.
So my mouth is very big, and we were walking into Keenan on Friday, and I am talking so much junk. And
yes, he was.
And this dude walks by with a 23 football jersey. I'm like, 23 on a football jersey? How
exactly
dumb is that? And the guy, I don't know who. I don't know. Hopefully he doesn't listen. But the nerdy kid that wore the turtle sweatshirt. Remember that guy? You know which one I'm talking about?
Hey, yeah, a guy.
He goes, that's Power Eccles. Yeah, so people are buying Power Eccles jerseys. Get out of here, man! Like you put a 23 on there for Jordan.
Yeah. No. Again.
Anyway, I'm done.
Yeah. No, again, it's a conversation piece. Does it sell? Probably. I mean, if you're a UNC fan, if you can have a 23,
it goes back to that fan I saw here last night eating dinner. He goes make a comment about it, and he's already talking about football. Like it doesn't even faze him. Like you realize we just played NC State versus UNC football game last night, right? Like
exactly.
It goes back to their elitist attitude, and Dave was right.
Yep, I don't disagree with him one bit. I just love you said it.
Call a spade a spade.
Call a spade a spade. Amen. So, but do want to give a shout out to Scott Furr here on this comment saying Carolina doesn't get 5-star recruits. Recruits get 5 stars because they get recruited by Mac Brown, Butch Davis, same with Florida State and Miami recruits. I mean,
it's the love fest.
Yeah.
Let me add one more.
They have with him.
Let me add one more thing here. I'm going to go back to the quote comment that I gave a week or so ago. There's a 4-star safety committed into State's recruiting class right now from Florida named Damon Fagan. When he committed to State, and I know you guys remember where I'm going with this, he said, I made a business decision.
Yeah.
I mean, it's starting to trick. When you go to State produces NFL players. And people, high school level recruits are starting to see that. So I'm going to leave it there.
Amen.
Yeah, I think the coach.
Late Macon said mic drop.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think the high school coaches too now can see through all the BS of what Carolina does and what we do and other schools in North Carolina do. So I think that tide is starting to shift and the narrative is starting to shift away from them. I was watching. I love watching the enemy when we beat them to see like how their fan bases melt and whatever the rival site is for North Carolina.
Inside Carolina.
Okay, that's what it is. Okay, I don't even follow them, but it popped up on my feed today, so I watched it and they were just like blah blah blah,
losing their minds.
It's a good State defense. No, bro, it's a solid like top 20 in the country defense. Like it pained them. Like they did have a couple of good points, but they've talked about how the fan base has already shifted to basketball. I mean, to your point, like it's
just showing
they don't care
how much less competition there is on the coastal side.
Mm-hmm.
Like like that was the first. Like that wasn't just Carolina crap in the bag. That's Carolina. Like they've just finally played a good defense.
Like Georgia Tech was close to representing the coastal And it's a championship. Like had
They
Wake
had just
Forest
beat Miami.
If they beat Miami and Wake Forest had somehow held on and not lost to Carolina, Georgia Tech would have been your representative.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Well, they wouldn't have even needed Wake because Georgia Tech ended up beating UNC, so they would have had the tiebreaker.
That's right. You're right, actually. Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's
even
crazy.
Less, even less.
You were one game away from having a coach without a full head coach being in the championship.
That's a tweet for you to put out, Michael. That's a good tweet.
That's
I don't think people have realized that.
That's a crazy thought. You were one game away from a team without a head coach being in the championship game.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
On their 4th-string quarterback too.
Yeah,
yeah, they were on theirs.
I
think the Atlantic this year was 9-5 against the Coastal.
If you're a UNC, it's funny. Like if UNC's playing a team with their starting quarterback, they're probably fine. But if they're playing a backup, they should probably be worried.
Watch out. Yeah, watch out. They got their backup in. Oh, no.
Oh, they're playing QB3. Oh, my gosh.
Yes. No, exactly.
I mean, Duke almost got him, right? Because it was, 38-35?
Exactly.
Right?
Duke should have beaten them. That was pure luck.
Yeah.
Yes.
They had a bad call at the end of that one.
And by the way, D-Root brings up a great point. Yes, we are all team Clemson. We are we need Clemson to figure their crap out and just absolutely smoke the heck out of UNC.
I'm usually.
Look at Russell Orles. I will not. Nope. Not watching
playing UCLA. We ain't doing it. We're declining that bowl. We're declining it for the first time ever. We're going to decline that bowl offer.
Screw them.
No, I want to go there and smoke them. Is what I want to do.
They're coming to us. I'm not flying to the West Coast again.
Well, you don't have to fly to Texas. You only have to fly halfway this time.
Yeah.
True. So want to get
Sun Bowl's not a good one though. That's a cold bowl. Like believe it or not, with it being Texas, it's a cold bowl.
Yeah.
So want to get to 2 more tweets a week before we get into a Tuffy's mailbag question. Actually, believe it or not, to wrap this up. So first one here, gotta give a shout out to our man Ben Finley for taking care of his younger son Drake May.
Again, so good.
Shout out to Ben Finley on that. Again, I mean, just as crazy as to believe, actually had more passing yards. I mean, that's than Drake May. I mean, to me, that's a crazy thought, but it's 100% factual.
This may be a dumb question, and maybe it's just I haven't figured it out yet. I have not figured out how May had a higher QBR than Finley in that game. Looking at all the stats, Finley's stats were way better. How does that even translate?
It takes into account rushing. It also takes into account the defense you're playing. So since Drake May is playing a elite NC State defense,
okay,
and Ben Finley's playing a terrible UNC defense,
but his spot on the depth chart should get like a bowling, you get a handicap, right? Like you should get some bonus points for that.
Yeah. I'm looking here on the score app we're talking about.
Oh Michael, I can just start looking at that app.
Ben Finley's is higher than Drake May, so I don't know.
Yeah, because that ESPN has their own QBR, which that's what
I need to get off of ESPN.
So here I'll tell you,
I'm lazy.
To make you feel better, Greg, on the score app, Ben Finley has a 140.9 rating. And Drake May has a 101.8.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. No, both of them were under 70 on ESPN. So yeah, there's totally different formula.
It's a totally different formula.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, guys. I was just how does that even work? His numbers were way better.
I don't fully understand it either. So
yeah.
No, absolutely. So Scott, definitely would love to get into more bowl stuff, but again, we got a little bit more to get through here. But maybe in our episodes later this week, we could talk a little bit about bowl stuff. Since we won't know until next Sunday anyway. So here, let me finish this and then we'll get to this last question. So I want to get to this last tweet of the week, which we'll cover here on the live show from Red College Football, saying that 7:34 p.m. number 17 UNC football loses to unranked NC State. At 7:42, 8 minutes later, number 1 UNC basketball loses to unranked Iowa State. Tough to see. The upside is UNC fans won't feel bad about this tweet because they can't read it.
That's a national account too. Is what's so
that is so bad.
I want to kind of is this guy or gal?
I want to be his
state grad. Are they a straight grad?
Yes, he's kind of state grad. Yeah, no, he's.
Well, I think honestly, after the whole NCAA thing happened with the baseball team, fans started to realize how much the NCAA actually legitimately hates NC State. Then I think separately people started seeing that Carolina AFAM class and that didn't happen. I think they started piecing 2 and 2 together a little bit. So
no, you're 100% on the mark, Macon, because we have, because of this, the way we've gotten screwed over, again, the baseball, the women's basketball. Yep. and then the bowl game. Like
people nationally know now.
We have sympathizers now. Like they understand our pain.
People cry with us at this point.
We'll bring people on the bandwagon any way we can get them.
Right?
Exactly. All right. So now, kind of finishing off here, I wanted to get to a Tuffy's mailbag question here from Kelly at NCSU Fan for Life, saying, "Hey, Tuffy Talk and a bunch of other people, would this year have looked different? Would this year have looked any different for NC State according to the upcoming realignment, or at least would the new realignment have created a different championship scenario other than UNC versus Clemson?" And my immediate screaming thought is, well, first of all, it's kind of tough to say just because, I feel like that, like, for example, Syracuse at the beginning of the season was much more formidable than they have been later in the season. Florida State has all of a sudden been much more formidable later in the season. So it's like, who does UNC play? When do they play them? Because if UNC played them like right now, FSU right now, they would lose that game. Right. So
the only thing I would say you can know for sure is that you would not have played Wake Forest and you would have played Duke, right? Because with the new alignment,
it would have been interesting.
It would you're playing every year, Clemson, Carolina, which we do all the time anyways right now. But then you're actually starting next year, you're going to play Duke every single year. So playing Duke versus Wake Forest, I think it was a wash. Yeah, I think it's a wash, right? So that's the only thing you can know for certain in terms of answering that question, in my opinion.
Yep. And also got to give a shout out to NC football for being the 22 Mac Brown state champions, baby. So
let me say this too about recruiting.
Yeah.
State can now take this in the offseason. 8-4 does sound a lot better than 7-5, guys. And
9-4 sounds even better.
Well, I get that. You can get a bowl game and win that too. But my point is they can go in recruiting and that quote is out there for Dave Dorn.
Yep.
Carolina had nobody had State winning that game except McKenzie, and they won it. And so it's like, so what do you have if you're Carolina going off? You could say Drake May, but he's probably going to be gone after next year, right?
Probably.
So it'd be his third year in college.
Yep.
I think Carolina is going to be like, well, if they start negative recruiting, I feel like they're going to easily be able to be called out by recruits or
everybody
or coaches. Be like, well, Dave Doran said this and you're doing it, and State continues to win. They've won 5 of the last 7, so 11 of the last 16. I just think this is a huge thing for State when it comes to in-state recruiting in particular. So
Yep. And also too, the fact that for any, just like you were saying about Drake May, that for NC State, pretty much every single year, for the most part, Doran has had a formidable quarterback on roster. So it's not, been like an off year, but I mean, because every single year, between Devin Leary, between Ryan Finley, between Jacoby Brissett, they've had a slinger back there that can run the offense. So
that Droop 75 quote needs to be there. Pin that thing. Yeah.
Gotcha, Ben. Gotcha. Yeah. So D Roop saying, since 27, State is 47-27. UNC is 35-38.
That's a tweet.
And I guarantee you, probably almost every year, Carolina had a higher rating draft class or ranking.
Oh, easily.
I think there's only been one recruiting class in the last 10 years that State had a higher recruiting class, and it was like barely. It was like State had 26, Carolina had 28, and I think it was coming off of Fedora's bad year.
Yeah,
one of the bad years,
2018 or something.
So it's I think the only downside for State in recruiting right now is that UNC, the machine that is UNC, that Jordan Brand will just
it's the flashy stuff that 18-year-olds fall in love with. Like any 18-year-old's gonna want that money and that shiny stuff.
You know what? I don't think State fans want the kind of players that UNC obviously. State they like the glitz and glamour and the everything that glitter and gold kind of concept. State wants the blue collar hard workers and clearly you win with that, right? You're winning. And I don't think Carolina's going to like this realignment stuff because they're not going to get the coastal teams every single year, right?
Exactly.
The one thing that you just brought up a point that what was it, Inside Carolina? Is that what whatever they're called? The one thing that they noted in that game was that State won in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and they attributed that to attitude, and that is what wins ball games. And so for me, so for me, it was like, you're dang right. So
wait, say that one more time. I sure heard that right.
Yeah. So like from their take, right? Because they're at their opinion that State won in the trenches on both the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, and they attributed that to attitude and want and will and just being a
It's
quote
usually what
unquote
it is, yeah.
being
the
a
more
badass.
aggressive team.
Right,
You're the more aggressive
right.
team.
And that Carolina needs to learn that.
Ooh, yeah, that's. I mean,
It
that's
goes to Russell
that's
Orwell's
rough.
quote. Argyle makes me nauseous. Who puts Argyle on your football?
They put it on
jerseys or
everything.
bas-
It's gross.
It's. I don't even want to go there.
It's back to
blue makes me
elitist. I mean, that is, you know.
Yep, I
What,
agree.
What are you
Preppy.
too good? You too
Preppy.
good for a pinstripe?
All right, well, Pack Nation. Well, again, first of all, I want to say thank you all so much again for tuning in for definitely, I think, has been our most enjoyable live show that we've ever had. That's not even close. This has been
Can we bend this
amazing.
I'm just happy. I feel
Make
good
it look
inside.
so content with life
I'm
right
very
now.
happy right now.
I'm pretty good right now too. Yeah, no.
This is the one time I wish I lived in North Carolina and can go to work on Monday and just walk around with my chest pointed out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you guys enjoy it. You guys enjoy your day tomorrow, man. You've earned it as fans.
Will do, absolutely. So, but make sure, again, just as a reminder, we're going to have a couple of special videos coming out here this week. And then later this week, we will have our 2 episodes where we will continue to talk more about this game, talk about men's basketball, women's basketball we weren't able to get to today, but we will definitely cover that in the episodes, and also to cover the rest of our Tuffy's tweets of the week. So again, and make sure you don't miss out on any of those videos. Make sure, again, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, which is free to do, and to make sure that you're notified on all your devices whenever we go live with any episodes, live streams, or watch parties, which we will definitely be doing more of now that basketball season is gotten underway here. And also to make sure, if you haven't already, if you enjoyed this and if you laughed and enjoyed just as much as we did, if you wouldn't mind, please hit that like button, as again, that's another free thing to do, and it really helps share the video with more of the YouTube community. And lastly, if you haven't already, give us a follow, Tuffy Talking Now, on Twitter and Instagram. We are heading towards 10,000 followers, believe it or not, and we are and we would really appreciate your help in getting us to that amazing achievement for sure.
Real quick, Aaron, yes, I'm going to the bowl game as long as it's, Texas or East Coast.
Yeah.
Come on,
okay.
Greg.
Yeah, not West Coast. Come on, Greg. What's
in
the matter
Hawaii,
with you?
Greg?
You are not committed.
Look, I've already done 7,500 miles, so you know what? Maybe
Are
if
you
it's
even
West
a
Coast,
real fan, Greg? If you don't go,
you know what? Actually, if it's West Coast, I'm going. All right.
I hope it's on the West Coast now.
I go over 10,000 miles.
Yeah,
there you go.
You should be able to fly with the team at this point, right?
Right.
Say it
Make
here.
it happen.
I mean,
Make it
hey,
happen.
you went on the field with them. Just ask Derek.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Anyway, we got to wrap this up. Go ahead, Leighton.
I don't know if Leighton may have lost
think
his signal. So I will wrap it up for us unless he kicks back in here, guys. But hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in this episode. Who knows? This might be going live for the next 10, 15 minutes and we'll be done here. So, yeah, there he is.
I'm here.
It's too late.
Sorry. Sorry.
Will the real Leighton stand up?
Yeah, well, really, Leighton, please stand up. Yeah, no, for some reason it just booted me. But anyway, we got to jump, y'all. But thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see y'all soon. As always, go Pack, baby.
Go Pack, guys.